Hi everyone from Giaco. After living over a decade in Finland, I decided to help building a bridge between the English-speaking people living in Finland and the local community. Listen to my podcast to discover the most interesting and incredible people from Finland and to dig into Finnish culture and controversial issues that impact all of us in our daily life. And now sit back and enjoy listening. Bye! Hi everyone. The following is a conversation with Rajkumar Sabanadesan, who came to Finland over 30 years ago as a refugee from the civil war in Sri Lanka. With him, we talk about his story, his youth in a war zone, and how his life has developed and how his journey to become a consultant in Finland has been. Rajku is a wonderful human being with deep thought and a bright vision of life and challenges overcoming. Please enjoy. Here we are. So, Rajkumar, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you today?
It has been a long day, but I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yes. So I wanted you here on the podcast because I think you have a story that is unique. You are a peculiar person. You are also a successful story. So I like stories that they might have inside some difficulties or many difficulties, but then from hard asphalt then comes a flower. And I think you can be an inspiration for many. So let's start telling, who are you?
Thank you for your kind words. It always makes a man very humble. But I think that we all have unique stories, each one of us. Some people are better storytellers, and
sure.
others are not so. Or we can say some people had the opportunity to tell their stories. Many people then they didn't for different kind of reasons. Who am I? That's a big question. At the moment, I think maybe I would like to be identified primarily as a father. I have a almost 6-year-old son. I came from Sri Lanka originally.
Yes.
The north of Sri Lanka called Jaffna. I came to Finland on the 25th of April 1994 as an asylum seeker. Life has been tough, but it has had a lot of great moments as well. There are tens of people who have helped me through difficult times and given me a break and show me the road and picked me up when I was down and without all this help and without all these people, I wouldn't be perceived as a successful person as you you described me. So
don't you think we all need
absolutely
people around us?
Absolutely.
We all need some network and support.
Absolutely. Nobody can be successful alone. We need people. Actually, about a year or two ago, somebody asked me, how come you are successful? I mean, successful is also then is defined, who is defining what is successful.
Sure.
And when he or she, I don't remember who it was, asked me that, what is your secret? I said that 50% is other people who helped me. And 30% is I was in the right place, right time.
So it's fate?
It's kind of fate, yeah. And 20% is hard work.
So a lot it's due to outside elements, what you believe, and then a small part it's hard work.
Yeah. Hard work is small part, but it's very, 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 very important part. And you have to be very consistent. You should trust your guts, trust your feelings, and keep doing what you are doing. And you have to set goals in a long term. and then you have to put very small short-term goals, and you have to achieve them little by little, one by
It will
one,
build up.
and build up. Yes. And during that time we will realize life happens, because life doesn't just go as we plan. A lot of things happens, and during the times that life happens, we need people around us. When we are fine, we don't need anybody.
Yeah.
We need people when we are not fine, when we are down, when we are depressed, when we feel that we don't have any hope. So I have been very blessed and happy with the fact that I had lot of good people were around me during different part of my life.
Yeah, I kind of get that, and I subscribe to that thought, because anyway, when life throws you a monkey wrench in the wheel, and you never know when it happens, then you need someone. But this relationship you build up anyway, also when you are doing fine. So you have to take care of people, and ask for help, not only when you are down, because anyway the relationship, it's built in time.
So the thing is, of course, we do keep building relationships. Some relationships are deep, some relationships are not so deep and superficial. But what happens is that we can't build relationship for the purpose of benefiting for ourselves. It's we at least to me, for example, I just told you that there are tens of people who helped me during the hardship. With many of them I don't do anything at all anymore. I haven't even talked with them for 10 years.
Okay. They were there in the time you needed.
They were in a time, and then departed, and then we have different kind of ideologies or different kind of interests, so move on, or some people get offended for some reason, so then you don't have the same kind of worldview or relationships, things like that. For example, I can say that there are few people who were in my life during the mid-90s and helped me, supported me. I haven't seen them now over 10 years.
Yeah.
So it happens. But then other people who have been in my life since the day that I arrived to this country.
Yeah.
So it's.
Do you think you have this kind of life philosophy and attitude because of your upbringing, your religion, or what you learned from life? If I would have to, for example, compare to. Now I will generalize, and I'm sorry if I butcher this, but if you think a bit like American style, hard work, almost that it goes to the saying, fake it until you make it, so that people believe it's all up to their effort, and success and being happy, it's just belongs to their attitude and their way of doing. So it's quite a different approach. Do you think where it's eradicated, this your philosophy?
Well, to be honest, I also believe it's up to the individual. But what do I mean by that is that's why I said in the beginning that is very, even though it's a short one,
it's
important. It has to be a powerful one. It has to be a deep one, and you have to be committed, and you have to be consistent. And I also believe, because it's up to individual, because otherwise there will come a situation that we can be very easily become a victim of environment or the society or politics or whatever going on. But regardless of that, we need people. We need people for us to feel well. We need people for to pick it up when we are having a difficult time, and also we need to have people to enjoy what we have. It's you can't enjoy alone.
No. It's a limited happiness.
It's a very, very limited happiness. When you ask me about the upbringing or the culture or something, I'm sure it has something to do with. I come from a Hindu family. I come from a small village in Jaffna, and I come from the civil war, and it was a poor society. In my village we had only one car, one small health center, one post office. There were two telephones. One was in the hospital, one was in the post office.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. But you consider yourself spiritual?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No. I don't consider myself spiritual, but I consider myself as a person who doesn't have, actually, who has strong opinions, but I don't believe in one way of thinking. In my life, there are space for many ways of thinking.
Yeah.
I basically never or quite rarely get into argument with other people's opinion because I believe everybody has the right to have their opinion, and they feel what they are feeling, and it's subjectively very correct for them.
You are tolerant.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's that we don't know everything. We become knowledgeable and wiser by time. For example, when I think about the things that I feel now, I didn't think like that 30 years ago. I didn't think like that 25 years ago. Maybe I thought, but it was not clear enough for me.
Yeah, and you will not think like this in 10 years.
Yeah, probably I will not think like this in 10 years or 15 years. So it's a process. I really believe in process. I believe that we all have enough space in this world to do whatever we want to do if we give space to other people. Because the thing is, you treat other people the way you feel, and you will be supported the way that you will treat other people.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I am the only correct person, only my way of doing is the correct way, and I won't be able to connect with many people.
Yeah, you get isolated in your
Yeah,
own
very
bubble.
isolated, and you became even otherwise you became. I mean, we all live in our bubbles. That's why this diversity is very important. We need to talk with different kind of people in different age and different way. They're people who identify themselves, come from different part of life. And actually, something happened to me. There were a lot of Sri Lankan students who are coming into Finland at the moment, and we have a lot of students coming into Tampere. So some contacts me and ask me of me to help with some small stuff. Then I realized that because I have been living here for almost 30 years, and I live a certain life, I live in my bubble, that I don't know those basic things anymore.
Well, yeah, life has changed.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
things
changed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I rather think, sorry if I interrupt you now, you can continue, but living in the bubble, I think it's limited, and it has some kind of negative meaning to me. I think you live in your ecosystem. Bubble seems like something small. Ecosystem seems something open. Of course, you created your own ecosystem around you.
Yeah.
So I think you are on an open space, moving inside this ecosystem,
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
being in a small thing that prevents you to listen and hear or see from outside.
Yeah, that's true. That's how I want to believe as well. But then again, the thing at least what I realize is that what happened to me was that life happened. For example, when my son was born, and I became very jealous with my time.
That's a good realization. Yeah.
I wanted to spend time with him, and then of course all other things, responsibilities and things comes with that. So somehow that also, at least that forces me, or that I choose to isolate a little bit my ecosystem, and it was kind of, actually, to be honest, I was really, it was a wake up call for me about a month or two ago, and when a young guy asked me that, Raj, can you help me with this and that, I all of a sudden realized that I have no idea. But of course, then you find people who knows
Exactly.
and who can help, and
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
Yeah. And I guess also some people, or I don't know this specific situation, but maybe they didn't need to know the process. They needed someone to that they would get, like, hand in hand would do. I think
Yeah,
it's more
yeah.
of an emotional
Yeah,
help than
yeah,
rather than like
yeah.
tell me what site I should log into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
yeah.
that's something that probably, even if you don't know the process, you knew how to help
Yeah.
in another way. I, if you don't mind,
Mm.
and if it doesn't bring you bad memories,
Mm.
I want to go back to the beginning, your story,
Mm.
because I know that before coming to Finland,
Mm.
your past, it's colorful.
Mm.
It's also probably painful.
Yeah, actually it is. I mean, I talk about my life story all the time, and I have a reason for that, and well, I was born in North Sri Lanka in Jaffna, in a family where my father was a doctor and my mother was a homestay mom.
Yeah.
Then my father was working in the South Sri Lanka or Central Sri Lanka, how do you call it? And I was sent to live with my grandmother when I was 6 years old. And this grandmother was in her 60s that time in Sri Lanka, and she has given birth to 9 or 11 children, if I remember well.
Okay.
So in Sri Lanka in 1970s, 60-year-old woman who have given birth to 11 children are not the typical 60-year-old Finnish woman that we are seeing on the street today. It's a completely different ball game. So she was psychologically pretty tough, but she was not physically that well.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of survive by myself and do what I was doing, and going to school and meeting my parents during the holidays and so on. So what happened then is in late 80s, we had the civil war was going on in Sri Lanka, and
So was it north against south?
it's kind of north against south.
Yeah.
In the north was the Tamil majority, and so in the south there were the Sinhalese, and I knew about it, and there were all kind of stuff going on. But I became a teenager during the time that Indian military came into Sri Lanka. So they were called IPKF, meaning Indian Peacekeeping Forces. Indian government and Sri Lankan government made an agreement, so Indian military will come, they will keep the peace, and there were a lot of Tamil liberation organizations who were fighting against the Sri Lankan government, so they will give up the arms and come into the peace processes, and what is happening even nowadays in Africa and South America, and a similar kind of stuff, but it really didn't happen. So then one organization started to fight again the Indian military, and we were young guys who were in the high school, and some of our friends who they joined the rebel movement as 100% total soldiers, and they would live with them in the camps and take regular trainings and be in the front line and fighting and all this kind of stuff. And I was more of like the guy who were living at home and going to schools and weddings and funerals and living a normal life. But we will get involved when things are kind of you are a must. At most of the time, it was like doing the support services, like being in the first aid group and taking care of the wounded and things like that, and taking care of the food services or participating in the food services, and sometimes also providing so-called intelligence services, meaning that we will move around and we will see where the soldiers are, what is going on, and things like that.
Was it a tense situation?
It was an active battle. I mean, it was like all the time going on. In this kind of a civil war where there's a guerrilla warfare, you will have sometime a tense, active battle from 2 days to 2 weeks.
Yes.
Then sometime you would not have anything, or sometime it would be so that the soldiers have captured certain areas and pulled back the rebels, and then life goes on for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden rebels, they group up and hit back and things like that. For example, I mean, in that kind of a war affair, it's always about creating certain kind of uncertainty and fear and things like that. For example, there was a situation where that we were given grenades.
Okay.
And
they gave to you grenades.
Yeah. It's young guy boys, I mean, it's normal.
Well, I laugh because I'm sorry, but I had a different upbringing.
Yeah, it's a different world. I mean, of course, when I think about it now, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But that time, when you grow up in that kind of an environment, it's not that much of a big deal.
Yeah.
So what we would do is that because the military checkposts will be here and there in every junction or here and there. And they will change the soldiers who are watching,
patrolling,
patrolling and things like that. When things goes bit smooth, they will get bit lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be a time that there's nobody there, 1 hour or half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever. So during those time, what we do is we go and throw the knife in there and exploit it, and then of course the soldiers will come again, and there are things going on. Then the real rebels will come and attack and all this kind of stuff. And of course, I mean, we didn't have the guts to go on with those guys with the machine guns and things like that.
So you were causing mayhem.
This
and
kind,
you were just young teenagers.
Yeah. This kind of stuff. And I think the biggest part was it's maybe most in so-called intelligence and supportive and supportive stuffs. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
But I guess that even if I'm glad that you can speak openly and that you can have fun about this, but I'm pretty sure that you must have seen a lot that is not that nice.
Of course, I mean, I have seen a lot. For example, the first time that I saw assassination was,
I see a live assassination.
I have seen live assassination, tens of them.
Oh,
but the first one I saw was when I was 6 years old. I was standing with my mother in the bus stand. On other side of the road, a yellow van comes in, and they takes a guy out. This guy is shouting and crying and things like that. They bind him in the light post, electric post, and shoot him on the head.
So it was a show of them.
Yeah, I mean, those days were like, they were assassinating traitors and thieves and all this kind of stuff.
And they made an example out
of them, and of course later on different kind of assassinations and it's when I think back, it's great. I don't know how we survived. I really don't know. I think we survived because we were young and stupid.
Yeah, yes. I won't say that you're stupid. I would use the word naive.
Young and naive.
Yes, because I don't think you are stupid. At least you've grown up
I'm just describing that time.
Yes.
So
and also like the brain plasticity and the attitude of youngs is much different. They tend to accept much more
absolutely
absorb the stress. But you absorb the stress once, twice, months, years, like you do, and then you get post-traumatic disorder.
Exactly. That's the thing with my PTSD also. For example, that I don't have much of a PTSD experience or feelings, so it didn't bother my life in my 20s. It didn't bother my life in early 30s. I think I started to have some sign in mid 30s.
Okay. How did it show?
I think I started to the first things that I started to see was the nightmares. sleepless nights and nightmares. And to be honest, it's in my mid-30s I became a manager for the first time in my work life. Until mid-30s I was just an employee.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of crises during the time at my work, and then I started to so-called climb on the ladder pretty quick. And of course it's brought a lot of responsibilities and a lot of you have to, it made me feel like I have to control my behavior and play a certain role.
Yeah.
And I was not as free as an employee anymore.
Yeah.
And all these kind of things. Then I start to have the sleeping disorders and sleeping problems and start to see nightmares. But still, it was pretty handleable. But when I met my wife, and
wife gives nightmares.
Well, they do sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It's funny that she told me in our second date, I have only one demand from you, if you want to have a relationship, that no matter what you do, don't ever lie to me. I said, yeah, okay, so easy, not a big deal. But I didn't know her that well. It was only our second date. So she was an ex-diplomat and she knew the world. She was involved in political debates, and she was not a politician but ex-diplomat, and she lived in Asia. She worked in there, and when EU was making the Tamil rebels as recognizing them as a terrorist group, and she was listening to those stories or those policy making situations and stuff like that. So she knew a lot. Then of course after she started to date me and get to know me, she asked me questions. I said a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I didn't take it too serious because I didn't think, even me myself, I didn't think about it for a long time.
Yeah.
So she digged in a lot of information, and she would ask very specific questions. That was for me, it's like, God, what is this? How can a person in mid 2015 or something like that would know all this kind of stuff? Where she, of course, there's Google, there's all.
So she was knowledgeable about
she was knowledgeable about very, very small specific stuff. Even time frames and things like that. So what happened to me was that
she was framing you.
Yeah, maybe, but the thing is, the way that she was asking questions and you were interested, nobody was able to take me back that quickly, that deeply, that emotionally and precisely. Because to everybody else, when I talked about my life, they will ask something, I will say something, they will be empathetic, that's about it.
Yeah.
Nobody bothered to dig down into 1987, July 23rd in this village, what happened, and she knew those kind of specific.
All right.
So, of course, I talked about it, and it was also in the beginning kind of like a relief that somebody knows these kind of things, so we can talk about it, and then it's shit hit the fan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it started to come more and more and more and more, and I think that I emotionally opened up for the old happenings, and that was a bad idea. And I'm working.
Do you think?
No, not really. In a long term, absolutely, it's not a bad idea.
Exactly,
but in a short term, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So you think that at the beginning were stress and these kind of things that ignited a bit your nightmares and make emotion to bubble, and then someone started finally digging and taking away the trench you built.
Yeah, and you are in, and also then she as my partner and as a person who loves me
And you trust her.
and trust, she also very emotionally very supportive.
Mhm.
So when somebody is emotionally very supportive and hold your hand and be empathetic or maybe even cry,
Mm.
it's you lose it,
Yeah.
It's then all the barriers that you have built, they collapse.
Mm.
So when they collapse, that you are not the same person anymore.
Maybe you are more truthful or
I know that I am more truthful, but it comes with a cost.
What was
It
the
makes
cost?
me more unstable.
Mm. So your emotion came to the surface, and then you realized that you had some PTSD.
Yeah. Actually, she realized this when she told me. I was like, no, nothing like that. And then, of course, there were a lot of signs and evidences and.
So you went to check yourself.
Yeah, I went to the doctors and they did whatever they did, and I diagnosed it. That I went to therapy for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then Corona happened, and then there was a break, and now then I have started again and
Yeah.
sitting with a therapist once a week
And deal with this.
and deal
old
with
stuff.
this stuff. Yeah.
Is it helping?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But did it come? So was it only that so you experienced this trauma later with strong emotion coming from within?
Yeah.
But did it hit you in another way? So aside from some sleepless night, did you have any other?
Yeah. For example, that I am very balanced and I can handle any kind of problems and be the
Cool guy.
cool and peacemaker all around except at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened is that until then, I had this guard everywhere.
Mm.
Now I have this guard outside still, not as high as it's before. For example, now I'm talking to you this personally, so it's a bit down, but it's not totally down in my social life. But at home, it's completely down. Because the thing is that my family can notice, okay, he's not doing well
Mm.
long before I notice.
Okay.
Yeah. So when they ask me this and that, I'm trying to deny it, and it's create problems.
But for them, it's clear.
Yeah, for them it's clear, and also it happens in such a way that, for example, you have kids and things like that. So it's to me it's very important that everything is planned,
Mm.
everything is consistent.
Mm.
Timetable must be kept, and rules must be obeyed.
Mm.
And if it doesn't happen, I collapse. Because outside the home, I don't collapse because
Nothing is predictable.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't need to have nobody forced me or asked me to take down the barriers.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, but home it happens, so somehow they managed to break me.
So you want to keep everything there in control.
Yeah. So when it doesn't happen, it's difficult, and my wife and kids say sometimes that they have to live with me like they are walking on the eggshell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good that you realize this.
Yeah,
because it's the way.
everything starts from realization.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you don't realize it,
Then you can ponder and think like.
yeah.
So the treatment you're getting, it's aside from a good dose of patience from your wife, it's then talking with the
And also a professional, yeah.
professional.
Yeah.
But you're not taking medicines or anything.
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
Actually, I never took.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But and so you were playing war. You were saying throwing grenades here and there, and so how then? Why did you yourself? How did you end up in Finland? Did you apply for political asylum or?
Yeah. What happened is that at some point that I have realized that the more you play a war, that you have to get involved more.
Mm.
And I didn't want to do that for many reasons. maybe ethical reasons, maybe I didn't have balls.
Oh, I'm sure it's scary.
Yeah, it's many reasons.
Did you lose friends in battle?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, so I'm sure you also understood that can
Yeah,
happen to you.
yeah. It's crazy world. One realized that I should leave. There's no point of here, and we have a lot of my father's relative who were living in Canada.
Mm.
So we thought that going there might be a good idea. And of course, you have to immigrate illegal.
So why would you have to illegally immigrate?
Well, I
to
don't
Canada?
have a. So I mean, we are talking about early 90s. 90s, yeah. There's a civil war going on Sri Lanka. I'm a Sri Lankan teenager. I walk into the embassy and say, "Give me a tourist visa," and they will laugh at my face and say, "Come on, guy, man."
Because everyone was trying to do
exactly,
that.
Exactly. And I didn't have any credentials to apply for a university or college or anything like that. So I did the same thing as many other people do. You pay some guys some amount of money, and they will make all kind of documents, and they will arrange. So my route was to come to Moscow, from there to Finland, and stay here for a month, and then to go to Canada. And because that time of the year, those years that we had in Finland, they were flying from in June and July, or maybe even August, they were flying a direct flight from Helsinki to Toronto.
Okay.
So when you take a direct flight, the possibility of getting caught is much smaller. And
sure.
Finland, that time, they didn't know this kind of thing so much, and so on. But I came here, and I kind of loved it.
Okay.
Everything was clean. Everything was punctual. In the bus stand, it would say the bus will come 13:43, and it will come.
How long were you had been in Finland to realize that?
Within a month.
Okay. Sudden.
Very sudden.
Yeah.
I came on the 25th of April 1994, and that year it was already warm then. I could work with the t-shirt on the street. I came to Turku.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and the summer was hot, and the Aurajoki
Turku is really beautiful
and
in the
all
summer, spring.
all the boats and everything. To me, it was like a perfect country.
Yeah.
Punctual, safe, clean, consistent, and not so many people from other countries and things like that. So I thought, okay, if I live here,
And you were totally alone. You came here alone.
Totally alone. Totally alone. I thought in here I can make my life just the way I want it. If I go to Canada, my father's relative, they have expectations, my family have expectations, and this and
So
that.
your family was there or was going there?
No. My mother has passed away by that time, and my sister was much smaller, and my father was still working as a doctor in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And so, but I decided this is it, and I loved it. I mean, I think this was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Well, yes, you definitely cannot now regret it after wife and kids. And so how did you spend the first time here?
Then, of course, I asked asylum, political asylum in here. Then I lived in a reception center for asylum seekers 3.5 years.
In Turku? 3.5 years?
In Turku 4 months, then I was moved to Tampere.
Yeah.
After that, in September 1994, they moved me to Tampere Reception Center. I lived there.
3.5 years?
3.5 years.
Was this the time that they needed to check your background? Or?
Yeah, and those times, these kind of processes were longer, and I was given a negative decision 4 times or 5 times, and actually, well, I can't blame the authorities, because the thing is that when I asked asylum, I was planning on going to Canada anyway, so I didn't bother to go with I have that problem, this problem. I just said, blah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
It was not so convincing.
Yeah, I am gonna go. Then when I decided I am going to stay here, I can't go and tell them, oh, please, I want to tell you more. Nobody will believe me anymore.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so I kept it like that, and they were not convinced. They said, you have to go back. They were giving me negative decision after negative decision, and finally it went to the Supreme Court. they voted 3-2. 3 said that I should be deported, and 2 said no, I should be.
Yeah, you can stay.
You can stay here, and they were preparing all the deportation things and stuff like that. I was actually that time I was studying in a vocational school, and I graduated from the vocational school. Then I went to this polytechnic, applied University of Applied Sciences, that they call it nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
And there, so I finished the first semester, and this was happening. And then what I did was I went and applied for the student visa. So MIGRI, that time it was called Foreign Affairs Office or something like that. Well, they said, okay, guy has been here 3.5 years. He has already a vocational certificate. Now he's doing a degree. And then some of my friends and things like that, they did some recommendation. Seems like an okay guy, no crimes. And then I was also able to submit that I will do some cleaning jobs and things like that. And then they decided one day before my flight to Sri Lanka that we will give him a break. So
good. Did you celebrate that day?
That day I didn't realize that, but I was told this years after by a policeman who was handling my case. He said, Rajkumar, you are a lucky man that if they were late 24 hours, you would have been in the flight.
Do they come and take you from the center?
Yeah. That's what they were doing. They come.
Scout you to the.
They come
flight.
early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, and take you and keep you in the police station for a day or 2.
Yeah, to be sure that you don't flee.
Yeah. Then take you to the plane and.
But you were busy in this 3.5 years anyway. You were studying and doing and
absolutely
active.
Yeah, absolutely.
That for because sure showed that you.
This is what I said also, that 10% of hard work and consistent and make small steps and not give not believe in faith. Faith is important, as I said. 50% is. 30%, but it's very important. But you can't leave it to faith and lay down on the sofa and say.
I understand what you are going after, meaning that you would have not waited until that last day to get the permission. You did in between. You did all that, so to ensure something.
Exactly. That's what happens when you come from this kind of a background, that. You make plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and plan. I still now I live like that. I make 5 different plans for every bloody thing that I do. No wonder I don't sleep.
Yes, I think that is not post-traumatic disorder. And so then you were finally officially accepted here.
Yeah, as a student. Yeah.
And you start little by little. Did build your life here as a Finn? Did you speak Finnish or something at the time?
Yeah, I was able to speak Finnish reasonably after 1 year. I was living in Finland, but it's also what is reasonable. I mean, when I was here for a year or year and a half, many people told me that you speak good Finnish. I said okay, fine. And after living for 10 years, many people said that you speak good Finnish. I know the difference. They said now I speak good Finnish. I know the difference. But my son, who is 5.5 years old, he asked me about a month and a half ago, Daddy, how do you go to work? You speak so bad Finnish. It depends on who makes the criteria, you know.
And then you know that the kids, they tell always the truth.
Exactly.
Now you know it.
Exactly.
For 30 years, no one dared to tell you the truth.
And here he comes.
Do you what language do you speak to your kids?
Finnish.
Okay.
It's that thing that when my wife was pregnant, that I was telling, of course, I will speak to him Tamil and things like that. But when he was born, I couldn't, because I couldn't express myself emotionally in my own language. Because when I took him and I wanted to say something in Tamil, it sounded so weird to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't show him love and affection and
I understand.
but now I try to speak a little bit, and he's picking up one or two things and
Okay.
stuff like that. And now it's a bit different, he's pretty old. It's I can still show affection in Finnish and still
Yeah.
speak Tamil, but
Yeah, but he's not able to formulate words, does he?
but he can couple of sentences, like
yeah, I mean that, yeah,
give me milk, or let's go, or come here, or
Okay, yeah.
numbers and body parts and some
Yeah.
animals and this kind of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
It's funny because I guess you understood that I'm Italian from origin, and so I have 3 kids, and I speak to them, and I always spoke to them in Italian all the day, every day. That regardless, they don't answer me back in Italian.
Yeah.
But that's a different story.
Yeah.
But I remember exactly the same feeling you had,
Yeah.
and I guess it's because you have a new creature, your own kid, and you are not used to talk with something that doesn't move, that doesn't reply, and doesn't make any face expression. So I also had the same feeling that, like, what should I say to this little girl? So I wasn't able to speak that much anyway, but I knew that I wanted to speak Italian from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I kept, and then the second, I was already knowing what to do, and the third, not a problem, so speaking then came natural. But I remember exactly the same feeling.
Yeah. How long you have been in Finland by the time that you got first kid?
7 years.
7 years, yeah. For me, 25 years.
Yeah. Of course,
Yeah.
The language was eradicated in you much more.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember this kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And so you lived all your life in Tampere.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had, when I was working in between, I worked for a while in Helsinki and Espoo, but during that time I had an apartment here, so I was coming on Monday morning and going back on Friday evening. But other than that, I have lived all my life in Tampere.
And how did people, society accept you in 1994 when you came here as an Indian? What was it like?
It's because Finland it was in deep recession that time, or coming from a very, very, very bad recession that they had. A lot of businesses has gone down, and many families were broke down, and Tampere was one of the most affected cities because Tampere is called industrial city. Exactly. It was really, really, really bad. Of course, as a new person and as a 19-year-old guy, I didn't know anything about it. If I knew something, I knew very little. And of course, during the first months, you don't understand the language. Even during the first year, you don't understand that much, or you don't read the newspapers, or you don't listen to the news. So
you are an alien.
Yeah, exactly. And so you didn't know much. But of course, the atmosphere was tense. And people will call you all kind of stuff, and they will tell me to go back to Somalia, for example.
That much they knew.
That much they knew. And it was a weird time. But I quickly went to. I mean, after living here for almost an year, I quickly went to the vocational school.
Yeah.
So by that time, it's a huge thing. I mean, during that time. And so when you went to the vocational school, so you had a lot of Finnish students who were studying with you.
Yeah.
So integrating with them, and as a young guy going to bars with them and getting drunk with them and partying with them and meeting their families, going to their cottage and going to, it was very, very, very easy in that sense, because you wake up early in the morning, you go to the school, you spend time with them. After that, you go to the bar and you spread drink, and weekends they will take you to their saunas and cottages. And so it's I was I didn't have to hang around on the street alone to experience. But of course, you could experience different kind of things.
You were getting the eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. It was.
Were there many people of color at the time walking around? So were you somehow like I don't know, a new scene?
Not really. Tampere is the second largest city, so that time it depends on what do you compare to. Of course, if you compare to today, it was different.
Sure.
Today, when you walk on the main street, which is Hämeenkatu in Tampere, people don't look at you because of your color.
Yes.
But those days they will look at you because of your color, of course. And for example, like when you go to the shops, like electronic shops or clothes, and the security guard is always behind you. It
was at the time.
At the time, I mean, they will walk behind. It's like if two guys like me go into the shop and they have nothing else to do but to walk around behind us. And so it's and also there were some kind of incidents. I don't remember exactly what. Then these kind of skinheads, they will rent 2 or 3 buses and they will come to Tampere and they will wait on the street with bats and things like that. Yeah. And some of my friends, they have got beaten up, and there were times and we were told maybe it's not a good idea to go today, Friday evening after 6 o'clock. Maybe
Don't
it's not
go.
Don't go. If today somebody tell me don't go, it will feel so bad because I'm used to 30 years of safe and secure and independent.
It sounds so weird.
Yeah,
now,
it sounds so weird.
Yeah.
It's.
So there was there was organized races.
Yeah,
party,
they were during that time. I remember. Yeah.
Well, in that sense, thank God, maybe nowadays there is not such a phenomenon.
Not that visible.
Yeah.
Not that visible.
But if you say that they will come by bus,
so
it was quite well organized.
Yeah.
And so it seems that you had anyway quite a good youth then here. I'm pretty sure that that's also why you never missed that you didn't go to Canada, because
that's the thing. It's also, even though that I have these issues between my head and I suffer, and people who are close to me now and then suffer, but the thing is that if you ask me as an overall, I always felt I had a good life, regardless of what. One of my very, very dear person a few years ago told me that, Raj, do you know what is your problem? I said, what? Your problem is you don't have a problem.
Oh, nice. Can we switch life for a while?
It's because, it's my relationship with my mother died very early, and I left her. They sent me away when I was 6, and she died when I was 13 or 14. But my mother was a very violent one, and she was physically and emotionally very abusive when I was even 4, 5, I remember very well. But she told me something that has carried me always and still carries me, and I think it will carry me the rest of my life. She said, my son, remember one thing. No matter what happens to your life, remember there has been always a good reason for that. So that somehow stuck to my blood and bones and everywhere, that no matter what happens, I try to see something positive out of it.
Okay. I think you gave your own understanding of that.
Yes,
sentence.
I gave my own understanding of
because
that.
it's a double sword.
It is a double sword, absolutely.
Yeah.
The thing is, it happens. For example, let's say that I have to go to work as I'm an entrepreneur, and if I don't go, nobody pays me.
Yeah.
I can't take a sick leave.
Yeah.
And I have a big case going on, reasonable enough bill I can send. All of a sudden, I get sick. And I'm on the bed. I can keep worry about it, or I can try to enjoy the fact that I'm on the bed and I can watch something on the Netflix.
Oh yeah, sure. The attitude there changes the experience.
Exactly. That's what I meant by this, and that's what I interpreted from what my mother said. It's about how do you take it.
Yeah.
So I have always been. I don't remember any situation that might sound weird, but maybe it is weird. That I don't remember any situation where that I felt like a victim or I felt like bad for something that I couldn't control. When it is out of my control, I just, okay, let's make something good out of it. Enjoy it some other ways.
You are puzzling me, because then you are the guy who wants everything to be precise, perfect, and predictable. But then you accept the unpredictable in such a positive way.
Because the thing is, because of PTSD, the security is the most important thing. So you do work hard for the security. You have to feel secure. You have to be. Thing has to be predictable. Thing has to be consistent and everything.
Yeah.
But
you build like a secure nest where you can retreat every day.
Yeah. Because the thing is, when it is gone, it's gone.
Yeah. And you never felt that, like, oh, life, it's so hard. Why on me? Because you have this pretty positive attitude. And I think maybe when I was asking if you are spiritual, maybe you don't
realized it.
You don't combine the spirituality with this, but there is, and you were talking about fate, everything that's outside, and then you stuff happen to your life. You have this way of just accepting. There is anyway a component, a big component that it's outside in the hands of someone else.
I was grown up in a spiritual family. I was grown up in a spiritual society. Until age of 13, I was involved in spiritual issues a lot. I mean, a lot. Participating in all kind of spiritual thing and temples.
It's if I can, sorry if I interrupt you, but it's also a humble spirituality and a humble society, my understanding. So also these I can see in what you're saying.
It might be so that maybe I am, maybe I haven't realized it, maybe I don't accept it. We will see in 10 years.
Yes, that's the next one.
What it is, but it's interesting. It's on the other hand, I want things, but on the other hand, I can also give up very quickly.
If it's not something that you can have the power over. You are able to just let go and accept it in a positive way.
I think of like even at my work that what I tell to my client is that there are a lot of things in life that you can't decide or influence.
Yes.
Forget about them. And there are some stuff that you can influence, but you can decide. For example, I can behave with you friendly and try to influence that you will be kind to me as well. But I can't decide. It's your decision. So there are a lot of things that you can influence, but you can't decide. Put some energy into it. Then there are few things that you can absolutely decide. Put 80% of your energy in the things that you can decide. You can decide what to think, what to feel, what to choose, what to eat or what not to eat. But you can't decide it will be minus 30 degrees or 0 degrees in
or if your car breaks down.
Or if car breaks down. And things like that. So I think one of the issue with many of us is that we put so much time and energy into things that we can't decide and influence. And
we worry about
them. We worry about them, and the worrying takes a lot of your energy.
If we go back now, after going deeply philosophically, if we go back to your life in Tampere, I will take some points from this conversation later. But I'm pretty sure that so you had then you integrated, you studied, and then you started this, as you said, like working and climbing the ladder. Was it for you difficult to make this climbing? And
it's a very good question. I was working as an employee in Tampere city for one organization, and I had some issues with the leadership, and I was not happy the way the leadership was working in that organization, and this second in charge decided that it's not going to be there anymore after a few months. Couldn't take it. So I went to top boss and I said, I want this position.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, you can't come and demand that you want this permission. I said, I'm not demanding. I'm just saying I want this. He said, what if you don't? If you don't get? I said, if you don't give me the position, I will leave. I will find somewhere else. He said, this is blackmailing. I said, this is not blackmail. I'm just saying. End of the day, it's your decision.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't have the power to decide. It's end of the day. It's your decision. What I am saying is, I want this one. If I don't get it, I will leave. So then you decide that does it worth letting this guy go?
Well, it sounds like an ultimatum.
Well, it sounds like, but I didn't feel like that. It's to me it was like I'm just expressing myself. Then there were a lot of things happen, and then finally I got it.
Yeah.
And I got it, and after a couple of years, the government decided to shut down this office.
Yes.
And by that time, I have had one diploma and 2 degrees and doing my management certificate and things like that. And I applied for many jobs in Tampere area.
Yes.
I was not even called once.
Yeah.
Or if I was offered, I was offered to do that my first diploma level job, not those 2 degrees, and I'm doing management and I have experience as a manager
for a lower position.
Yeah, much lower position. Then I said, okay, well, it seems I'm going to get anything. I will expand. I applied to Helsinki. And I remember I was going with my friends on a 3 weeks holiday to Greece, to go around Greece.
Okay.
And they called me, asked me to come to the interview on the same day that I'm flying. My flight was 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and a couple of days previously they called and said, come on this day. I said, I can come in the morning because I have to fly. I went there. Actually, it's just about 2 kilometers from here.
Okay.
Yeah. It used to be a drug intoxication department.
Yes. Okay.
And I went there and gave the interview to be a department manager.
Yeah.
They called me when I arrived in Greece. They called me next day and said, yeah, you're selected. When can you start?
Oh, yes.
So I said in August. I started there. And that was so I changed the perspective. Okay, even though I have been living in Tampere a long time, I couldn't get there. I will try somewhere else. Then I can maybe get. But there I gave the interview. I got once. Then I was doing it for a while. I was not so interested in that. It was not motivating me. Then I applied for another private company, and then. I was selected as a director for a unit and worked for a while. And then Finnish Red Cross in Tampere contacted me and asked me if I could come there, work as a director for them.
Yeah. But have you ever felt that, like, at least in that experience when you were seeking for a new job, have you ever felt that, like, you were not treated equally?
Yeah, of course. It was kind of weird that first they wouldn't call me at all. And they will offer me something that is there's nothing bad with that, but after that I have done 2 degrees and I have a management experience and I'm doing a management program, and despite that, but my feeling was it's their problem, it's not my problem.
But again, you're super positive. Because this is something that everyone, even myself, in these days, so we're not talking about I don't know how long ago was this.
This happened in 2008.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, still nowadays, if I talk about my experience, 2018, I was looking for a job and I was finishing my master in business administration. So the best degree you can get, and I was not getting any answer, and I was not getting anywhere. Or if I could find something, then I'm not saying that I could go and clean something, but and there is nothing against it, but it's something that foreigners see on a daily basis, that if something is offered to them, it's much lower than what they are trained for. And it's alarming that this phenomenon is continuing in the ages all the time. So there is no improvement there.
Well, I think there are a lot of improvements, and I see this as in my case, I think maybe one secret could be the language.
Sure. I had language at the time like
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
Still,
Okay.
it didn't
Okay.
help.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
So
that's weird to hear that even with the language that didn't help.
Yeah. I think that it's a prejudice that someone with a weird name applying,
Yeah.
and so it's just like
Yeah.
dismissed.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I said. Maybe it's the people and the right time, right thing kind of things. It's happened to me. Maybe.
Yes, but that's what I was going back to, because
Yeah.
you were saying this, that you have such a nice and positive way to accept the negative and the negativity of some of the replies, because instead of thinking like, as I have done, like, what's wrong with me? Why they don't take me? And you start thinking, like,
Yeah.
how can I improve? What should I
Yeah.
do better? Or how can I make the next application better?
Yeah,
How can I
yeah.
make the next interview better? You know,
Yeah.
it's dwelling like inside. Your attitude was kind of like,
Yeah.
well, they lost me. And
Actually, that's my attitude. Yeah, it's
And
they are bad.
yeah, but it's crazy good, because you kept some kind of a self-esteem up and a boost to continue.
Maybe when you put it this way, maybe it's because that experience that I had until I come here. You know, you had to live. I mean, I saw how quickly it can end.
It gave you the meaning for life.
Yeah,
quite
it
different.
it can end just like that. And also when I came here, it was like you have to live with the small means and you don't have much of the right, and the authorities are always trying to find a way to deport you year after year for 3.5 years. You have to come somehow, keep your head cool and go to study, finish the school, and then find another school and things like that. Even after that, when I get the student visa, that I was doing the cleaning job, and during the daytime I go to school. With the money that I got from the cleaning job, I could pay only my one room rent, the bus card, the telephone bill, and I had food to eat for about, because those days at school you get the free lunch.
Yeah.
This free lunch was keeping me, and for last 10 days of the month I didn't have anything to eat at home, not even sugar.
No.
So I will come from evening from cleaning, middle of the night, try to drink water and go to bed, or drink cup of tea without sugar and go to bed.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like when you were pushed into that much rough and hardship, anything better than that is always getting better. Getting better. I was worked as an employee, fine. Getting better. Now I want to do something better. They are not giving me, but it will get better. It will get better. So it's kind of like, for me,
it's a great attitude.
Yeah, it made things always went bit better.
Yeah. Well, I really admire that, because also like I don't come from such a rough background, so probably I haven't learned the hard way. But I had this thought like you have, but they are not radicated so much into me that to say like, okay, I actually wake up today after being rejected 60 times, I wake up happy. No, I didn't at the time. And it's something that anyway, if there is a message, positive message to the people that listen and they have this kind of difficulties nowadays, is that also what I was thinking, that like you actually don't want to go into a place that gives you the money and the position that you want, but doesn't accept you. So it's a bit, there is a controversy there, because you're like, okay, you would like everyone to say yes to you, then actually you want the place that accepts you. So you rather not go sitting there and chit chat for nothing, because then you will not be well at work. You will feel like isolated or put in aside. So I totally rationally understand that, but emotionally I've never been that strong. And I guess it's the hardship you come from.
It must be, and also maybe also this the deep belief that, or philosophy or lifestyle or whatever we call it. The thing is that I have always believed that nobody owns me anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, actually, when you talk about it, what comes to my mind, I think I have to talk to my therapist about this next week. No, really. The thing is that I was never emotionally attached to my parents. There were no chance for that. Father was away and mother was abusive. So, from very small age of 4 or 5 or 6, now going back, that I remember that because my mother was so violent, and I always told myself that if you don't have to say anything, don't say it. If you don't have to share anything, you don't share it, because you never know what's the reaction be. She might beat me up and put me in a dark room again.
Oh man.
So when you grow up in that kind of a situation, so you become like a lonely survivor.
No, yeah, you're a tough chap.
Nobody owns you anything. Why would
you don't expect, life is not granted.
Exactly. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe my trauma is the reason for my success. Coin has two sides,
Yeah, I understand. I really feel that I would not wish to anyone, don't get it wrong, wish anyone your background
absolutely
to
not.
then bloom into a flower.
Me neither.
But for sure you have learned some really, hard way, some really important lessons.
Thank you for this interview. It's like it's good.
I try to do my best. Do you think Finland has become more racist during the years? You follow politics, as I do, and the true Finns have grown almost year after year, and there are critics, really strong critics to them, their way of talking, the way of being quite openly separating the good from the bad.
Okay. Before I answer my your question, I will tell you a little bit about my life, and I will go back what happened when my son was born. My son was born. This is my wife. She has 2 other kids from her previous relationship. All of them are white Finns. Then I lived with them for a year or 2 before my son was born. And when he was born, he was not white. I saw him, and we came home from the hospital, and my wife is there, other kids are there, this guy is there. My feeling was, who is this guy? What is he doing here? He doesn't fit the picture.
With the whiteys.
Yeah. Then I was thinking, what?
Do you watch yourself in the mirror?
Exactly. Exactly. Then I said, yeah. And it really shocked me, and I was thinking. My life is like that. I wake up in the morning, there are white people around me. I get into my car, I go to a place where my client is, who has invited me voluntarily, willing to pay me what I am asking to pay me, and they are very happy that I went there. They greet me well, they treat me well, they offer me to eat and drink and everything. I coach them or whatever I do with them, consult them. I jump into the car and go to them, and after that, when I'm leaving, my wife sent me a message saying, go to Prisma and get this kind of stuff. I go to Prisma, come home, then again with the white people. My clients, 98%, they are white. And then if you go to a birthday party, it's usually my friend's relative, or anniversaries, it's my friend's relative, Christmas is my friend's relative. All of them are my wife's relatives, or Easter or something like that. So I am living in a bubble where all of them, 99% of the people that I interact are Finns.
Yes, and white.
And white Finns. So in this age, with this kind of lifestyle with the kid, I don't spend time in the night bars or walk around the street in the late nights or things like that. So I am not so much exposed to this kind of reality, my ecosystem and my bubble is very, very protected. My life has been for last several years is that I'm not trying to be an arrogant, is that I don't seek, people seek out to me. Can you do this for us? Can I ask help from? It doesn't matter it's a white Finn or a foreigner or whatever. The table has changed a little bit in a way that can you help or whatever. When do you have time to talk to me and things like that. So I don't have the same experience as many others who
the
came
stage
from,
of the life.
Yeah. So therefore, this is my disclaimer. and then again, I think that Finland has gone toward the better way and is getting much better. And racism is decreasing all the time, maybe not as quick as we want it to decrease. But the thing is, the digital era that we are living in, anybody can say anywhere anything without telling their name or showing the faces, or the information can go
the
and
credentials.
And things like that. That might makes it looks like that. Even with the true Finns, I mean, they are of course there's in true Finns there's this very, very, very radical racist wing, and then they are a bit liberal wing, and then in between everything. It's the same thing with the some other parties as well. But it's
you don't think that? I mean, of course, this improvement it's not equally spread. It's not equally spread in all the society, in all the parts of Finland, because there are areas in which like, there is more international background, there are more international workers, so different people in different cultures are more accepted than others. So for sure, it is not equally distributed. I think that we are going through a generation change, and younger generation are exposed to so much international content from the media, to international friends, to different races friends. They've been going through the daycare from since the beginning. So I think that we are building tolerance, and I think this is I hope that the true Finns, it's kind of the last shout before they will hopefully start shaming away, because I believe that new generation has a totally different attitude.
I hope so. But then again, I am not that optimistic about this, because when you look at...
This time you are not optimistic?
No, I mean, this thing is what is happening in Europe. Look, including Italy. When we look back the history, when the things start to go down economically for the countries,
the blame is
put. It has always been like that.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's what is happening, and now with the Ukrainian war and things like that, with the inflations and all these kind of things, I think there's a big risk that this could be played against immigrants.
Well, it is played. Every time it is played.
So that is there. But I forgot what I wanted to say. But I think that in terms of racism, there are a lot of people talk about institutional racisms and things like that. To me, in today's Finland, when I interact with all those people that I am interacting in private companies and government sectors and other public sectors and in how do you call third sector? Service sector and all these kind of things, I haven't met a leader who I believe that will not employ a foreigner just because he or she is a foreigner. I haven't met a single one. My theory is that they are not desperate enough to bother yet. They are somehow still surviving, and they survive enough to be in their comfort zone, and they don't have to. They are not. They have to be trust badly for them to come out of the comfort zone and say, we need everybody and anybody. Because I remember in 1997 when I went to do the cleaning job, I got it at once. And then my friends who were studying in the university said, "Guy, ma'am, we also want to have. What do we do?" I said, "Come with me." And I know there are a lot of work. I took 4 guys with me, and my supervisors said, "No, they need to speak Finnish." I said, "Why do they need to speak Finnish?" "No, they need to know how to use the machine." I said, "They can use the machine. They don't." "Yeah, well, but they need to know how to mix the cleaning digits." And I mean, they are studying in university. Come on, if you saw one time, they know how to mix the cleaning. Yeah. No, if somebody asks some advice and they have to give, come on, it's okay. Then I talked with her, and then I said, "Listen, I will take the responsibility. If they need something in Finnish, I will translate it." She took them. So that 1997, there was very, very high demand of Finnish language knowledge to do a bloody even a cleaning job. Now look what. In 1995, it wouldn't be imaginable to have a bus driver who is not a white person.
And that's because they've been forced to. Forced. They didn't have another choice.
In Helsinki, there will be no public service if the immigrants are not running.
That's what many politicians are answering.
For me, I think the thing is that as long as they can survive within that comfort zone.
Then they are not.
They are not.
It's totally true. I was talking yesterday with a CEO from a metallurgic company working in Mikkeli, and we were talking about integrating foreigners into companies, and he was saying, I asked, like, how did the worker, like the Finns, how did they take in the fact that now suddenly foreigners are coming to work with them? And they said, like, well, we had open job position for months and months and after months, and no one was applying. We couldn't get anyone, and everyone was overloaded with work. So at the end, they were accepted. Now they have 20 different foreigners coming from Russia, Ukraine. They have one from Kenya, so from all over. So as you said, it's true. Like once there is no other option, then probably the employers are forced to do the first step. But what kind of coaching do you do nowadays? Do you do also this kind of coaching for international, like how to deal with international teams? And
not really. I mostly do with leadership development issues and change development and team management. Very, 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 very. I mean, maybe I have one small case in 6 months which to do with multiculturalism or how to deal with immigration issues.
So your background and your experience anyway as a foreigner is not, you don't apply that kind of like.
I think what happened was that it was applied more or less maybe about 10 years ago or maybe 7 years ago. It's more and more shifting into other direction now. And then, of course, for example, when 2015, when we had the refugee crisis, crisis, then I was involved with all kind of reception centers and immigration centers, and I was working with the leaders and healthcare teams and social care teams. And
what kind of help were you offering?
One is consulting, leadership consulting. Another thing is how to build these kind of centers and how to manage and where to, because I have a lot of experience as a client for 3.5 years, then as a worker and leader for about 10 years. So I know that from all sides, as being a client, as being a worker, and being a leader. So it's I have been doing that, but.
Why is the system so slow? Was slow, of course, because we didn't have digitalization and all sorts. And you said that your own application was done a bit with the left hand. But what is nowadays the challenge in these centers?
I think it's not about the process, it's about the choice. It's the message also, it's a political message as well. And
Please explain.
it's like if you come here and if you sort out your business within 6 months, then you can live, or you have to be kicked out. And kicking out process is very difficult because there are many countries they don't accept
Back.
their citizens back. For example, like they have a lot of things with Afghanistan and things with Iran and things with Iraq and where most of the people are coming from. Somalia, those days Somalia, nowadays not. But it's so they always have to. It's sending them back is also a huge process and time costing and things like that. So one way to say no is to stretch the process.
Okay.
For 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, keeping them in the reception center with no hope.
So until they decide to leave themselves.
Not really like that, but they will tell to their countrymen and women that don't come here. This is so stressful.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So they are messengers to.
This is how I feel it, or this is how I see it actually.
That doesn't.
But that's
sounds
what.
really good.
No, it's not really good. That's the thing, and then also it's. Some people are saying that yes, we need immigrants, but this asylum seeking process shouldn't be the channel for immigrating. That should be only preserved for people with political issues and problems. And it's correct. But then again, that if you want to leave an Asian country or African country or Middle East country and say that if I go tomorrow to the Finnish embassy in India, say give me a 6 months visa, I want to go and check out in Finland, can I make it or not? They will laugh at me.
Yeah.
So it's a SWOT.
Yeah, because immigration and refugees are totally different things. So they should be also treated in a different way.
Yeah.
But of course, I think opportunities should be given. But now it seems that like the refugees are not given an opportunity.
Yeah.
Have you consulted into thinking like what could be the incentive, like the process? Because there are like startups that are involved in this. There are Business Finland it's involved in this. There are many organizations that they are heavily involved into integration. So why then these people are stuck for years in a center?
As you said, that the refugee business is different, and the other immigration, like immigrants who come to study or to work or come through a partner, or it's different. And this Business Finland and some other national organizations who are promoting integration and inviting foreigners, they are concentrating on this so-called talent.
That's true. Also.
Yeah, highly qualified immigrants.
Prospect. As a person.
But the problem with Finland is that the system is not strong enough or good enough to support the integration of these people and retain them here.
Yeah, that's also a problem, retention.
And Finland is a very attractive country. Everybody knows that. Happiest country, cleanest country, safest country, best education, best healthcare, big tax, small salaries,
beautiful lakes,
and all these kind of things. I remember in early 2000 or mid 2000 or end of the 2000, I don't exactly remember when this Nokia crisis happened, and I knew hundreds of engineers from all over the world who lived in Tampere and worked in Nokia. 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. They lived in such a bubble.
Yeah.
They came directly from whatever the country they came from, and they had a contract in their hand. They had a house and everything was ready. They came with their family, wife, husband, children.
Yeah.
And the other one was working for Nokia, all the time, traveling around the world. Working language was English.
Yeah.
Good salaries, no financial problems. Work around, come home, spend your time with your family, your colleagues who are Finns, you speak English, your colleagues who are from your country or your friend,
English,
other
yeah.
English and everything. They didn't have a single idea what was going on around them. I have many friends. I didn't know what's going to happen to Nokia, but I told them, learn the language, spend some time on it, because if you want to live here forever,
yeah, that's wise.
that's you learn the language. They were like, this is so difficult and this. And when they collapsed, Nokia collapsed, most of them felt so miserable. They wanted to live here.
Yeah.
They wanted to start startups. They wanted to do other things. They realized they can do it. They felt so much like an outsider after living for 10 years of good life, not being paid better than 60% of Finnish working population.
Yes. And they lived a reality that was not such so.
And they couldn't cope. They couldn't deal with the unemployment offices. They couldn't deal with the healthcare centers and this and that. And I think they felt embarrassed after living for all this time that we couldn't. So they left. It's who lost it? Finns. We lost it.
Yeah.
It's our loss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we didn't
the
do
knowledge, the know-how.
Exactly. We didn't do anything to retain these people.
But then you cannot even force people to start learning the language. It is an internal motivation.
The thing is, if they would have supported their families, the other part, to study Finnish and do something and integrate and friends and get into a job and things like that.
Yeah. They would have had more solid base.
Yeah.
But that's something from big companies like Supercell nowadays. They do, and they have programs for the wife or for the husbands that come here. So it's actually, of course, then we are talking about giants that have a lot of money behind. So it's easier to start thinking like, how can we solve these problems? But maybe this should be done at more centralized from the government. Yeah,
for example, I know cases, for example, then there are a lot of people who are coming to study here as nurses. The educations, because already they have a nursing degree in whatever the country.
They know the subject.
So they have to study only for a while, 6 months, 1 year. They comes with the family.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a high demand for nurses. And once they graduate, the next morning they can get a job. Then what?
Demand is there.
The thing is, the salary is not enough to take care of the whole family.
That's also true.
Yeah,
that's a big problem already. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we going? Because this, for example, the private nursing companies or government nursing homes or things like that, they can't afford to teach the family.
Yeah. It's true. But I understand that, and I understand also this language. But I go back to one of the first things you were saying about the support you got in your life from the network, and that's something also that maybe the Nokia people were living in a friendly bubble, but I think that when we talk about retention, this is something that the network is really important, because also that's something that sustains you, helps you maybe find the next job.
Yeah.
And that's something also that I think support. Of course, people have to make the effort to use the language and learn the language, and people have to make the effort also to network.
Yeah.
But also, it would be really important to help create this network for foreigners, because Finns they live here. You also were really young when you were here, so that's where I got lucky, because if I was 35 or 30, if I come with family and couple of kids, I didn't have time to go and drink and connect with people 5 days a week in the bar. But then you would lose your job.
Exactly. So it was. I was young. I was an asylum seeker. I was a student. So it was a complete.
You had time to do
exactly.
Stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's something that I think it's really important that should be worked. Maybe I'm pretty sure that there are people thinking about this. I'm not the first one thinking about this, but accepting the language, like as a foreigner, accept the language and learn it, and then do all the possible to get a network.
Yeah.
Those are really important. But then the government and or some organization can support people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then once they are taxpayers, they are here bringing
Yeah.
and they are creating, and they have to stay to keep
Yeah.
on being here.
Yeah.
Especially students, maybe it's easier, but many students are coming and then leaving because they don't find something.
I know. The thing is that we talked about this cleaning work and things like that. Okay, I also don't expect it's fair for a highly educated person to go to do the cleaning work. But in here, I see this differently. How do I see? Okay, maybe not differently, but I see it this way. How do I see it is if I have no choice, by going to do the cleaning job, I decrease my financial burden for a short time and I increase my networking.
Yes.
My boss will get to know me, get to know my story, my background. If my boss likes me, he or she will tell to a friend, to a brother, a sister, a father, a cousin, write about, maybe make a post in the Facebook, we have a great guy doing this and that and this.
Things
and
start moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have that is a way of exposing yourself, making network, making an impression, and decreasing your financial burden.
Yeah. You would accept that consequence, but you think that there is a greater good into moving. I think I totally agree with you. Also, when I was unemployed, I went to pack coffee in a company, and I started to do things just to do, not to let things just go and on and give myself also up. What if we try to conclude this all? What would be the advice you would give to someone, a foreigner coming here to Finland? You have a great attitude. You showed it, and I think that if I would say that actually it's the thing, the pivoting point, because anyway everyone will face challenges and everyone will have to accept uncertainty, no matter if it's a foreigner or not. So you have a great attitude and you showed it, because of course you are humble, but you're also really positive. But what would be the words you would give as an experience, a person that lived, of course, a rough life, but also lived the challenges here, overcome them, and you are a successful person nowadays? What would be the words and the tips that you would give?
I would say that we should remember that life is not fair. When we were born, nobody promised us everything will be okay. And we should recognize and accept that we are not going to have everything that we want to have. Some dreams come true, some remain as dreams. If we can spend most of our energy and time concentrating on those things where we can make decisions on what to do and what not to do, and spend some energy on things that and people that we can influence, and even during the hardest time of your life, feel and remember there is a light end of the tunnel, because there is always a light end of the tunnel. Sometimes the tunnel is short, sometimes it is fucking long. So do anything you can, everything you can. Do what, make small steps, make small plans. You have a big dream, but small steps. What I should do this week, what I should do next month, what should I achieve in 6 months, what should I achieve in 1 year. Those kind of things. Life is short. We don't know. We live and build and plan like we are going to live forever. But we don't. So do everything you can.
Yeah. Wise words. You are a wonderful human being.
Thank you.
Thank you
You
for
too.
coming.
You
And
too, my
hopefully
friend.
everyone
You too.
else also get the same perspective that I got from here, this conversation.
Thank you so much for. Oh, that's. I haven't talked English this much in maybe 10 years.
You did perfectly. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.